What is the Comrades Marathon? The Comrades Marathon is an ultramarathon of approximately 90 kilometers or 55 miles, which is run every year in the KwaZulu-Natal province of South Africa, between the cities of Durban and Pietermaritzburg. Hi, my name is Heiko, and today I want to share with you valuable information if you plan to run or have ever dreamt of running the Comrades Marathon. I had this dream since childhood to get that Comrades medal, and this obsession grew that I put immense pressure on myself to get that back-to-back medal, which eventually I did. The back-to-back medal means you completed 2 Comrade marathons in succession. But I'm getting ahead of myself, I'm getting carried away. Let me continue to explain more about what the Comrades actually is. It's the world's largest and oldest ultra-marathon race. And having run in over 50 countries, it is, in my point of view, one of the best I participated in, although it really took a lot out of me physically. Until date, I've never got the result I trained for. Imagine that. Now you have to understand, growing up in sports crazy South Africa, I started observing and learning from the Comrades runners. And that's what you do down there. It's a big part of life. Back when I was a young boy, it was the only day of the year where we as kids were allowed to put the TV on a Saturday morning. And there was only one station, so the TV transmission started at about 7 o'clock in the morning, so you couldn't see the start as it was still dark then. The start is at 5:30, and during the whole day you would keep the TV on, or if you'd go to your neighbor's house, you'd watch there, or you'd listen to it on the radio. And of course, everybody knew somebody who was participating or who had participated. And this is where I started to realize that there are 2 types of people. The one group that says running such far distances, oh, it's crazy, it's insane, it can't be good for you, I'll never be able to do that. And the others that obviously do and did it. I wanted to belong to them. So I started listening to those runners that had completed the race and had first-hand experiences. By the way, the race has its origin to 1921, always from Durban to Pietermaritzburg or Pietermaritzburg to Durban, over 90 kilometers. And then watching those runners crossing the finish line, it did something with me. It made me set goals early on in life and learning how to reach them, a step at a time. So now there's often some critique about the name, the ultimate human race. And in some forums, runners tend to get really upset, really mad at the Comrades using those words, and they go into long raves and explanations. And look, I'm sure that you've got a point. There are races that are further, longer, harder, tougher, etc. But rather than complaining and voicing your opinion, just do the races you enjoy and let others do the races that they like to enjoy. It's a South African race with a deep history, great crowds and great memories for many runners. And what makes it special is that it's a challenge that is, or at least feels like, it's accessible for all levels of runners. Whether you have just shed a ton of weight and started running yesterday, or you just completed a multi-day run event over treacherous terrain, the desert or the Antarctica, the Comrades is an experience in its own, and to run with people from all walks of life and build your own unique memories. A little bit about the history of the Comrades. The Comrades was run for the first time on the 24th May 1921, Empire Day, and with the exception of a break during World War II, has been run every year since. The 2010 event was the 85th race, and 300,000 runners have completed it. The race was the idea of a World War I veteran, Vic Clapham, to commemorate the South African soldiers killed during the war. Clapham, he had endured a 2,700 kilometer route march through sweltering German East Africa, and he wanted the memorial to be a unique test of the physical endurance of entrants. The constitution of the race states that one of its primary aims is to celebrate mankind's spirit over adversity. From 62 to 94, the race was run on Republic Day, 31st May. 48 runners entered the first race in 1921, but only 34 elected to start. The course at the time was tarred only for the final few kilometers into Durban. Imagine it. A time limit of 12 hours was set and Bill Rowan became the inaugural winner, clocking 8:59 to win by 41 minutes ahead of Harry Phillips. Of the 34 starters, there were only 16 that completed the race. Arthur Newton entered and he won the race for the first time in 1922. He went on to win the race 5 times, 5 a magic number here, and emerged as the dominant Comrades runner of 1920. When he completed the down run in 6:56 in 1923, there were only a handful of spectators on hand to witness the finish because so few thought it possible that the race could be run so quickly. Imagine that. The first woman to run the race was Frances Hayward in 1923, but her entry was refused, so she was an unofficial entrant. She completed the event in 11:35, and although she was not awarded a Comrades medal, the other runners and spectators presented her apparently with a silver tea service and a rose bowl. Wow, geez. In 1924, the Comrades had its fewest starters ever, just 24. And 4 years later, in 1928, the time limit for the race was reduced by an hour to 11 hours. In the 1930s, Hardy Ballington emerged as the dominant runner, recording 4 victories in 33, 34, 36 and 1938. And the winner of the 1930 race, important one, Wally Hayward, became one of the greatest legends of the Comrades Marathons, winning a further 4 times in the 50s and becoming the oldest man to complete the race in 1989. In 1932, Geraldine Watson, an unofficial entrant, became the first woman to complete both the uprun and the down run. The Comrades was stopped during the war from 1941 to 1945, and in 1948 a Comrades tradition was born when race official Max Trimborn, instead of firing the customary starter's gun, gave a loud imitation of a cock's crow. I'm not going to do that. But that tradition continues until today. His voice is played over loudspeakers at the starting line. In the 1950s, a full 20 years after he won the first race, the first time, Wally Hayward recorded his 2nd victory and followed that up with wins in, listen to this, 1951, 1953 and 1954. He represented South Africa at the 1952 Olympic Games in Helsinki, where he finished 10th in the marathon. Hayward retired from the Comrades after establishing new records for both the up and the down run, equaling the 5 wins of Newton and Ballington. I told you, 5 a special number. In 1958, the race was won for the first time by Jackie Meckler, who went on to win the race, what do you think? 5 times, finishing 2nd twice and 3rd twice. Absolutely awesome. You don't think so? Or you can't relate to it? Just imagine what shoes they had back then. Just think for a second of the running knowledge that was available compared to today. You can just go now and use Google and you can read, study, learn all the techniques necessary to complete such a race. How did they prepare back then? In the 1960s, the Comrades grew considerably from 100 starters up to 700 starters in 1969, and due to the bigger field, cut-off points were introduced at Drummond and Cato Ridge. There's some history for you. And Meckler became the first man to break the 6-hour barrier in 1960, finishing in 5:56. The 1961 winner was George Claassen, a school principal and father of well-known Wynand Claassen. You might remember him, Springbok rugby captain during 81. Claassen Jr. also finished the Comrades 10 times in later years. In 1962, the race attracted foreign interest for the first time, as the Roadrunners Club of England sent over 4 of the best long-distance runners in Britain. English runner John Smith won the race and uprun in under 6 hours, missing out on the course record by 33 seconds. In 1965, English runner Bernard Gomersall broke Meckler's downrun record with a time of 5:51. In 1967, Manny Kuhn and Tommy Malone, listen to this, they were involved in the closest finish in the history of the race. Imagine this. This must have been a thriller to watch live, to have been in the stadium. Malone appeared to be on his way to a comfortable win and was handed the traditional message from the mayor of Pietermaritzburg for the mayor of Durban at the tollgate. And he had a lead of 2 minutes over Kuhn. Now, he entered the stadium in the lead with only 80 meters left to go. Suddenly, Kuhn appeared only 15 minutes behind and closing in. Malone put in a burst for the line, but with only 15 meters left, he fell to the ground. He had cramps. He was struggling. He attempted to get up again, but with the line within reach, Koen flew past him to grab the victory. The mayoral message, it was forgotten as both runners just embraced. Now the Comrades had over 1,000 starters for the first time in 1971, with over 3,000 in 1979, and the race was widely broadcast both on radio and on TV. In 1975, the Golden Jubilee of the Comrades, Vincent Rakabele, finished 20th to become the first black runner to officially win a medal. Elizabeth Kavanagh became the first women's winner in a shade over 10 hours. In 1976 saw the emergence of Alan Robb, who won the first of his 4 Comrade titles. Now, Robb repeated his win in 1977, 1978 and 1980, including breaking the tape in Durban in 1978 in a record 5:29, almost 20 minutes and 4 kilometers ahead of runner-up David Wright. During the 1980s, the Comrades began with a field of 4,200, and in 1980 it topped with 5,000 for the first time, or 5,000 in 1983. And then in 1981, a student named Bruce Fordyce won the first of his eventual 9 races. He repeated his victory in 1982, 83, 84, 85, 86, a record 5:24, in 87, in 88, a record 5:27 for the uprun, and in 90. In 1989, Sam Chabalala became the first black winner of the Comrades, and school teacher Frith van der Merwe won the women's race in 1988 in a time of 6:32. Wow, I remember that so well. And Van der Merwe ran 5:54, obliterating the women's record, finishing 15th overall. In the same year, Wally Hayward entered the race at the age of 79 and finished in 9:44. He repeated the feat in the 1988-89 Comrades, where he completed the race with only 2 minutes to spare, and at the age of 80, became the oldest man to complete the Comrades. Now, during the 1990s, the size of the starting field was in the region of 12,000 to 14,000 runners, and the prize money was introduced, attracting more foreign competitors. The 75th anniversary of the Comrades Marathon was in 2000, and it was the largest ever staged at the time, with a massive field of 24,000 runners. And an extra hour was allowed to allow runners for the recovery time for the bronze medal finishers, and it became a milestone. In 2010, on its 85th anniversary, the race gained a place in the Guinness Book of World Records as the ultramarathon with the most runners. 14,000 athletes, the largest field since the turn of the millennium, finished in under 12 hours. The Russian identical twins, Olesia and Elena, won a combined 10 Comrade titles, while 3 times champion Stephen Muzingi became the first non-South African winner from Africa in 2009. Stephen Muzingi also became the first athlete to win 3 races in a row, 2009, 10, 11, and since Bruce Fordyce won 3 in a row in the 80s, 81, 82 and 83. Now the Russian runner Leonid Shestov, he set both down and up course records in 2007, 2008, respectively. The 19th anniversary, now this is where I come into the picture. Hello, well, my own picture. You see, I had high hopes and dreams for this monumental race. High expectation, and had spent the previous year completing a 500-kilometer charity run in 12 days, raising money for refugee children by running 12 consecutive days of marathons in 12 countries. Now look, for me, getting up, managing a job, a family, getting up and running a marathon every day, traveling around Europe was a huge achievement, and the event did raise a good amount of awareness and money. Now this was a up year. It alternates every year, meaning we would run from the coastal town of Durban inland to Pietermaritzburg. I flew from Frankfurt to Johannesburg where a week before the race, and already at the check-in in Frankfurt I sized up another German runner, spoke to him, and he was also all eager to participate. You spotted them a mile away. Then arriving in Johannesburg, already at the airport going to the gate for the flight to Durban, a lot of cool running shoes, caps, running t-shirts being worn. It was Comrades fever. And the flight down to Durban, the actual aeroplane, it was a Comrade shuttle. Now, as usual, Durban greeted me with great weather. It must have been over 20 years that I hadn't visited this city with its great beaches. And as a child, we would spend our holidays at Umhlanga, at the beach resort. And I would always wonder, where's the start of the Comrades? As a kid, I thought that the start line is always there, or that it's always visible. Okay. Now let me mention the 2019 records. The South African Edward Motibi won an impressive display of power just at polished shorts. And Gerda Steyn becoming the first woman to break the 6-hour mark. You have to see when she runs. It looks like she just started, like she's like fresh out of the box. Very talented athletes indeed. Now, I don't want to go into each professional athletes, although they surely would deserve it. What I want to mention is the actual heroes for me at last. It's everyday runners, the middle of the pack runners, the runners that manage a family, a job, a career, and have overcome difficulties and have found ways to train and not only excuses. Runners who have excelled and performed amazing feats. Often you also see really athletes, I take my hat off, wearing the green number, or runners that are visually impaired or that have tackled their own difficulties. It's people like Barry Holland, 66-year-old runner who has completed the Comrades 47 times and had the proud moment to run the race with his daughter. And amazing is that he's one of 800 runners over 60 doing the Comrades. So what's your excuse? Or the story of Cindy from the Eastern Cape. Many stories like this, people growing up in hardships, in townships, and they're out and their passion is running. But eventually to make it to one Comrade and a second one, a third one, it is a battle, because hardly affording to live and running and being the mother with 3 kids and working as a domestic worker, there is not so much money available. And her big goal was to run the Comrades. And her biggest issue was affordability and time to train. Now, besides the entry, there are other factors. You need to eat properly, your racing diet, you need to ensure you have proper shoes and racing gear, and you of course also need to have a strategy and to plan. Well, 3 Comrades later, she truly managed to grow as a runner and as a person, having reached her goal. Anyway, back to my childhood, and as a kid I asked myself not whether I will run it all, but rather how will I run the Comrades. Now, at that stage of my life, I'd never run further than 5Ks. I was an adolescent, I was a kid, which as a kid felt like miles, felt like a marathon. But somehow I noticed that asking how served me a lot better. Yes, one day I will. And through this, like a vision, I managed to distract myself from the difficulties of running, and of course, in the process, developed as a runner because I started to run further. Means I learned that there are areas of training which I need to develop in order to get to greater achievements or to reach greater achievements. Now, greater for me means being a better runner than I was the day before, and enjoying my running, enjoying my sport, improving myself, and getting inspiration out of my running. Now, let's look at the course, the Comrades course. Now, remember I said the direction of the race alternates each year between the up and the down run, starting from Durban, and the down run now 90 kilometers starting from Pietermaritzburg. Durban, beautiful seaside promenade, approximately 600,000 inhabitants and great weather, full of Comrades runners during the season. And Pietermaritzburg is also completely overrun during the Comrades Marathon. Now, how to get in, how to get registered? Of course, it's all online and it's a very good site, no issues there. If you are a foreign runner, if you are a visitor from abroad. However, different story if you are a local runner. Why? Well, in 2019, the field was capped at 25,000 runners. Imagine that. And the entry process closed after 1 week. So South African runners constitute the greater part of the field. But many entrants hailed from the United Kingdom, Zimbabwe, the neighboring countries, or from as far away as India, the United States, Australia, Canada. How do you Canadians train during the winter? Unbelievable. There are runners from Germany, from France, so it really is an international event. Now, a huge surprise to me as I was boarding the plane from Johannesburg to Durban, I remember I told you, it seems like I was the only runner not from Brazil. Huge participation numbers from Brazil. I don't know what's up. In all but 3 runnings since 1988, over 10,000 runners have reached the finish within the allowed 11 or 12 hours. Why 11 or 12 hours? Well, the cutoff used to be 11 hours and was changed or increased to 12 hours. Now, with increased participation since the 1980s, the average finish times for both sexes and the average age of finishers have increased substantially. What does this mean to you? Your likelihood of competing and finishing are quite high. Runners over the age of 20 qualify when they're able to compete an official marathon, an officially recognized marathon, in a time under 5 hours, 4:50 for 2019. If you're a South African runner, you need to belong to a club. For international runners, you just need to qualify by participating in a well-known marathon. Now, it gets a bit tricky though. The event organizers have some pressures because they need to pack up and clear the roads in a specific time after the event. And this is a huge logistical task, so unfortunately there are some strict rules in regard to cutoff. During the event, an athlete must reach 5 cutoff points in specified times to complete the race. Look, if you're a top athlete, this might not be of concern to you. However, if you are aiming and training for a just finish or a just made it in time, this could be an issue. One small setback and you might not make the cutoff and the race is over. The spirit of the Comrades Marathon is set to be embodied by attributes of camaraderie, selflessness, dedication, perseverance. The race is run on the roads of KwaZulu-Natal province, marked by the Big 5 set of hills. Now there are many more hills and each deserves a name. Honestly, in any other country, each hill would have a name, but somehow the Comrades is associated with the Big 5. Don't be deceived. Remember, there are many more. On the uprun from Durban, which is located by the sea level, they appear in the following order: Cowie's Hill, Fields Hill, Botha's Hill, Inchanga and Polly Shorts. 3 of the Big 5 are found in the first half of the race. From the base of the first hill, Cowie's, to the top of Botha's Hill, you climb 500 meters in the space of only 22 kilometers. Any seasoned campaigner will tell you this translates into a lot of steep climbing. The first half of the uprun is challenging, and early exuberance and bravado will be paid for dearly later on in the day. Trust me. The highest point of the race at 2,850 feet or 870 meters above sea level is situated near Umlaas Road interchange. 40 official refreshment stations along the route are stocked with soft drinks, water, sachets, energy drinks, fruits, biscuits, energy bars and cooked potatoes. There are physiotherapists and first aid stations at strategic points. What a service. Now at the bridge in Berea, we actually came to a complete stop due to the bottleneck as runners. That's pretty much in the start. But hang on, let me explain something more about this whole green number. I mean, you remember I spoke about it before? Now, even seeing a runner wearing the patch is something awe-inspiring. Some of them even have it as tattoos. But fact of the matter is, the green number, it means, okay, here it goes. It means that you either had 3 wins, or you had 5 gold medal finishes, or 10 medals, means completed more than 10 comrade races. So just in case you are wondering, 8 runners have had 3 wins. 2 runners have had 4 wins, and 4 runners have had 5 wins. Incredible. 1 runner had 8 wins, Elena, the sister, twin sister, and 1 runner has had 9 wins, Bruce Fordyce. But wait, this is not the most amazing part actually. There is a reason why I mentioned Elena Nurgalieva. She actually has 13 gold medals, surpassing Bruce Fordyce. Many people don't know that. A really amazing achievement. And now the most important or most amazing part. Approximately 9,000 runners have already gotten their green number. Ordinary athletes that cherish and respect this event. A big shout out to all of you. Big respect. So the green number is something so special that it can even be passed on to one's children. At least that's what it says on the website. And I've met many green number runners that ran the race with their kids, and what a great memory they are building. Now, The athletes currently have 12 hours to complete the course. Remember, it was extended from 11 hours in 2003. The original Comrades cutoff time from 21 to 1927 was 12 hours, reduced to 11 hours in 1928. Okay. There are a number of cutoff points along the route which runners must reach by a prescribed time or be forced to retire from the race. A runner who has successfully completed 9 marathons wears a yellow number, while those who have completed 10 races wear a green number, permanently allocated to the runners for all the future races. Medals are awarded to all runners completing the course in under 12 hours. Medals are currently awarded as follows. Hold on. Gold medal, the first 10 men and women. The Wally Hayward medal, heard that name before, remember? 11th position to sub 6 hours. The Isabel Roche Kelly medal, women only 11th position to sub 7 hours 30 minutes. The silver medal, 6 hours to 7 hours 30. The Billy Rowan medal, heard that name before too, 7 hours to 9 hours. I wanted that so badly. Robert Mtsali medal, 9 hours to sub 10. The bronze medal, 10 hours to sub 11 hours. And the Vic Clapper medal, 11 hours to sub 12 hours. Prior to 2000, only gold, silver and bronze medal were awarded. The Bill Rowan medal was introduced in 2000 and named after the winner of the, if you paid attention, the first Comrade Marathon in 1921. The time limit for this medal was inspired by Rowan's winning time in 1921 of 8 hours and 59 minutes. A new copper medal, the Vic Clapper medal, named after the race founder, correct, was added in 2003. Now this medal coincided with the increase in the time allocation for completing the event from a sub 11 hour to sub 12 hours. The Wally Hayward medal, named after 5-time winner Wally Hayward, was added in 2007 for runners finishing in under 6 hours but outside the gold medals. The back-to-back medal was introduced in 2005 and is awarded to novice runners who completed an up or down run in succession. Yay me. In terms of the implementation thereof, back-to-back medals were automatically awarded to 2005 Comrade finishers who had completed their first Comrades Marathon in 2004. More than anything, it shows that you didn't just make it once, you came back to try and test your resilience, your determination again, and you succeeded. Now, doing a seminar or a workshop, especially here in Europe, I often get asked to give some advice. Advice? Well, best is to learn from those that have completed the race successfully, my opinion. Success leaves clues, so here are some thoughts. Number one, it's unpredictable. The race is unpredictable in terms of performance like no other I have known. Regardless of my qualifying time, my training, my confidence or the lack thereof, there are always surprises on the day, good or bad. Learn the words of the South African second national anthem, Shosholoza, because at the start of the race you will be so glad you did, you'll think, yes Heiko, I'm glad I did. I would much rather use the advice of somebody who has stamped his name on the race, and that is Bruce Fordyce. Now, Bruce Fordyce writes, I need to look at my notes. From the start, the secret is to be cautious and maintain control. Relax as much as possible. It is important to keep on checking that pre-race schedule to make sure you've not been carried away. That's what he says. Well, none of these early hills should feel difficult to climb. You should cruise them all the time, reining in your excitement and checking that your breathing is never heavy. I was breathing like a locomotive up there. He says you should feel strong, enjoying the scenery, remembering to drink often. I didn't listen. He continues. You should not attempt to race anybody, okay? If somebody surges ahead of them, let them go. You should also ignore the distance boards. Yes, 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 yes. The countdown of 80 kilometers to go, 75 kilometers to go. It is so daunting. It's like, Rather, Bruce says you should focus on the landmarks. The idea is to aim for the next hill rather than the next 5 kilometers and aim to get there feeling strong. Now, Bruce also says in many of his speeches and his books, as you enter Pinetown and find the dense crowds, you will feed off their support. But once again, try to avoid being caught up in the excitement. I was. Around Pinetown, you will still want to start drink and to have some anticipation of the major effort you need, because there are two obstacles that lie ahead: Fields Hill and Bottas Hill. Bruce says both hills should feel like long, steady pulls, but should not be crippling. And he says, I always know whether I'm going to have a good Comrades or not as I climb Fields Hill. Amazing. I felt crummy, both of them. He says if Fields Hill feels easy and he's able to talk to other runners, he knows that he will conquer the up run that day. And if he says if you have to walk on any of the major hills, walk. It's important to conserve your strength, and once you have climbed Fields Hill, a major obstacle is already behind you. Now at Bottas Hill Village, there are still about 6 to 7 kilometers to run before the halfway point. There is a danger of rushing to the halfway point and being confused by the tree-lined bends and drops that lead to Drummond. I remember this so well. And at Drummond, you run through a mass of spectators, and suddenly, beware, the official halfway point is under the halfway banner, nowhere else. You think, I'm already there, but you're not yet. And in Changa Bank, there's a long, punishing pull that really saps the strength. Take this cautiously. If you can reach the summit feeling strong, a great race is on the cards. Now, even at the top, you still need to be cautious, because the Nchanga climb only ends at Radnor. Once over the mighty hill in Nchanga, the bulk of the climbing is behind you. Now, Bruce also says you start the slightly downhill run on the flat stretch to Cato Ridge and Camper Down. And if you're feeling good and you can make up time here, I wasn't feeling good, I didn't make up time. From Campers Down, it's always a tough part, and this is deceptively uphill stretch, and it's hard work in contrast to the easy coasting run down to Cato Ridge. Bruce Fordyce picks up the journey from Camper Down. Things start to really get tough as you fight fatigue and cramps. There is enormous crowd support in Camper Down, true, but there are 3 unnamed hills immediately after the village. Yes! Now, Bruce says they're called Camper Down 1, 2 and 3. Camper Down 3 is the tough one. I remember that one. It is a steep and it's a fairly long climb and it hurts. Now the good news is that it is followed by a welcome descent. Mentally, it is wonderful to be running in a different stance, because this is a very lonely part of the Comrades route. Now the scenery is basically just hot, naked bushveld. Umlaas Road is the highest point, and here the race is either won or lost for elite athletes. If you're feeling strong, you can make up time on the drop to Tumble In. Now, from Umlaas Road, you can also see the dreaded poly shorts in the distance. If you've timed yourself well, I didn't, and you ran your race cautiously, I didn't, this can be an inspiring sight. It wasn't. You are now finally able to see the hills that guards Pietermaritzburg and anticipating the finish. From Umlaas Road, you plunge steeply into Ashburton. Your legs will be sore, but you can make up time. Actually, you can. For me, the toughest part of the race, Ashburton, or Little Polly's as it is nicknamed, because it's a deceptive and hard climb, and it warns the tired runner just how tough Polly Shorts is going to be, if you remember that there is a Polly Shorts. For novices, Little Polly's is a trap, and I took it hook, line and center. Too many runners believe it to be Polly's itself and are left demoralized and beaten a little later when they meet the real Polly's. There is no mistaking the real Polly Shorts. After a drop from Ashburton, a slight bend in the road, a short bridge, and the real hill begins. At the bridge, Polly Shorts is almost 2 kilometers long and bends deceptively 3 times. And each time you'll be fooled into believing you are near the top. You're not. Now, Bruce also says no one runs up quickly, either Ashburton or Polly Shorts. And even front runners are occasionally compelled to walk. Speed up Polly's is not important. The main thing is to keep progressing forward. And don't believe the lie that the race is all downhill from the top of Polly Shorts either. They're not true. There's still some running left to the finish. Pardon me. Pietermaritzburg has its fair share of undulations, and with the change in finish venue in the last, because sometimes it's in a different area, the last kilometers or so will prove a stern test for any, even the most experienced campaigners. But if your early race has gone well, the last stretch can be run confidently and well, and from now on you could enjoy the massive crowd support. And Bruce says he has no doubt that the second half is far easier than the first half, and it can be run strongly if the first half has been run judiciously. Ha! Didn't work out for me, but it's fantastic advice. And it's advice from somebody who has accomplished amazing times, amazing results in this race. Okay, how about my own experience? So in my 35 years of running, I've had near perfect days and I've had some real bad days. More good days than bad days. I've had days where I have unleashed my potential. Days where I suffered a DNF too, actually. One of them I thought was devastating. It wasn't. And the other one I'm also totally at peace with. What I have realized though through these experiences is that no matter what, whether I get my personal best or finish or stop, that it doesn't define my strength or me as a runner. My strength is defined by how hard I work, how much I'm willing to endure, how much I love and honor this journey, the sport and who I want to be. My strength and running, or my fastest marathon times, the older I got through putting focus on developing, number one, my core, my physical core, and my mental powers. Using mental tools as a hypnotherapist, setting various anchors and making brain training part of my daily habit really helped me reach such conclusions, such results. Strength is going through the darkest depths and simply not giving in to the darkness, knowing that there will always be an upside again. Sounding poetical, I know, but you'll know what I mean. Sometimes that upside is a finish line, an outcome, a resolution. Sometimes that light is a new race, a new opportunity, or just a short, relaxing run. My first Comrades, 3 o'clock, alarm goes off. The morning is dark and quiet, but runners are already having their breakfast. Quiet crowd, no over-eagerness, just everybody for himself. Most already have their race kit displaying the national colors, their names, and how many times they've participated. And I see a couple of green numbers around me and get goosebumps already. Oh, and of course, the smell of deep heat, a strong smelling camphor lotion mixes with the morning smell of coffee. Delicious. As the athletes leave the hotel and you pass the lobby, on your way into the darkness, the hotel was just close to the start line. The hotel staff, the manager, everybody's at the door and everybody's really wishing you all the best. And as I said, my hotel was just close to the start and my very loyal childhood friends were there, my support team, and I went off to the starters block. And even though I'd qualified in a marathon time of 3:27, I was quite far back, and well, perhaps the event organizers knew more than me. I was definitely on the right spot, but at the moment in time I was like, why am I right, whilst I was getting in line, the professional runners, do you know what they were doing? I asked about this. They actually spent 50 minutes to an hour running up and down a cordoned off section where they were warming up, where they were getting already into the race. So wow. And then all of a sudden, Chariots of Fire, the South African national anthem, followed by Shojoloza, which in itself is a goosebump moment. Foreigners who don't have an idea what it means, they get goosebumps. Then finally the crowing of a cockerel, you know from whom? And the starting cannon, boom! Nothing happens. We're not moving. Obviously, over 20,000 runners. It took about 7 minutes until you cross the start line. Everybody's like, Now, out of the start block, in almost 10 kilometers, you do 200 meters. And from that beginning, I wasn't in great shape. No idea. I never have any health or stomach issues, so I started to run at a very slow pace, which I thought is not a bad idea. Now, after some time, I managed to get back into my rhythm and I made it as far as 28 kilometers and then I totally lost orientation. I mean, yes, I still knew where to run. I was still on the course, but I had no idea what hill it was, what time it was, how many kilometers, my pace. I tried to avoid the signs, you know, at the Comrades, remember? The kilometers are displayed as in to go, and reading a happy only 60 kilometers to go didn't do my constantly deteriorating mood any good. So at around 40 kilometers in just over 4 hours, nearing the top of another hill, I was walking. I started to concentrate on fueling properly. settling for water, bananas. Slowly things looked better, getting my mind in a better state. Any hopes and dreams of achieving a 9-hour time were replaced by, I just want to finish the race thoughts. Hero mode, gone. Survival mode, here I come. And finally I looked to read less than 21 kilometers to go. And over the highest point of the course, 850 meters. Supporters everywhere, constant streams of cheers, jubilation, high fives, and of course, many well-stocked aid zones, using them. And by now I'm walking any steep climbs, and I'm going from aid station to aid station, and I'm trying to conserve as much energy as possible. And then finally, little pollies and poly shorts. And do you think I remembered the advice Bruce Fordyce gave me? Take it easy on little pollies, as you need the power for poly shorts. And actually he said it to me. I met him before the race. We spoke. There's an open day there at the exhibition. Anyway, once again, I calculated my estimated time of arrival, and I thought, well, a sub 10, that's within my reach. So I went up charging little pollies, and honestly, when I reached the top, I felt on top of the world. I felt like a champion. Let me just put things in context here in case you didn't pay attention before. Number one, runners are passing me on both sides, and I'm still very slow, but hey, I feel like a champion. And I read a sign, I remember it clearly, I read the sign of a spectator, and I don't recall exactly what it said, but I read the words, poly shorts coming up. And then suddenly it dawns on me, here it comes, poly shorts, no bridge, I haven't passed the bridge. Now, no spectators, head down, shoveling along, people passing me, I'm walking, a sorry sight, willpower nearly gone, running not a chance, and I'm just losing time, well, not as in run time alone, but also in the sensation of time. Whether I'll finish or not didn't even occur to me. It was absolutely irrelevant. I was in a hard place and I had to get out of it. Then finally, people, along the side of the road, some cheering and people sitting there, and I passed through a crowd of people and sitting in the shade of eucalyptus trees with chairs and having a braai, barbecue, and screaming encouragement, and suddenly someone shouts, "Go Heiko!" and I hear my name, and oh my goodness, did that feel good. Thank you, whoever and where you are, really. This energy, it helped me enormously. And then the next area, I see off in the distance stadium lights, Pietermaritzburg to the right of me, hidden by huge trees. Oh my goodness, it's the stadium. I made it nearly there. I can't be more than 2 or 3 kilometers. Yes, Heiko, go, go, go. But as I kept on running, I realized it was a school stadium. And I still had what felt like another 10 Ks to run. It wasn't, but it felt like it. And then suddenly, I spot the entry into the race course and know that I must be down to the last few minutes of my first Comrades. I'm getting goosebumps now. The crowds, the noise, oh my goodness, what is happening? And it gets like a funnel. And it's that moment in time, that wonderful moment where you know that you're going to make it to the finish, regardless. And it's this funnel where you're running through, and I finally hit some sort of astroturf, some carpet which is spongy, underfoot, and my legs, they really appreciated the difference, the softer terrain. The noise level increases, and I'm wondering, how far will this lap be? Is it one total lap around, or just where exactly is the finish line? And I smell the dust and the feeling and the heat and the sweat on my body, and it takes me back for an instant to my childhood running days. And then the next thing, I'm hitting the finish straight towards a grand red wide finish line. I'm over, I've done it, and I'm in disbelief. I get my medal, and I follow up, turn around, I look at my time, 10:47, and the mixture of emotion overcomes me. Pride and disappointment mixed together. Never thought they could be present, but they were together. Like Chinese restaurant, sweet and sour. And that was my first Comrades experience. But let me tell you a little bit about Comrades runners who had their experience, and I found 8 interesting stories which I'd want to share with you. So I came back for my second Comrades in 2016. I was in search of that back-to-back medal. The race alternates direction each year. This year it was the down run. Sounds good, doesn't it? From Pietermaritzburg to Durban, down run. Now it gets its name because of the fact that the run is a net downhill, starting at about 600 meters or 2,000 feet above sea level, and ending at the ocean in Durban. Pardon me. Most of that drop occurs in the last 20 miles of the course, starting through Hillcrest and continuing down Fields Hill, a particularly killer downhill stretch about 40 miles into the course that drops about 700 feet over the course of about 4 miles. What only experienced runners will tell you is that yes, it is a down run, but has a significant amount of climbing, especially in the first half of the race. Overall, the run still has more than 900 meters or 3,500 feet of elevation gain, and the climbs in the first half of the race will tire out your legs if you didn't train well or you didn't pace accordingly. Now, during the first half of the race, but wait, let me start off from the beginning. Collecting my kit from the expo, I felt thrilled to go for this challenge, seeing that in April I had an excellent Two Oceans marathon. I finished in a time of 5:36 for a tough 56-kilometer race, so definitely this time, Comrades Marathon, I will make a 9:15. I trained for it, I worked for it, I showed up. Now let's do this. That was my attitude. Sounds good. This time I only arrived 2 days earlier before the race, but being accompanied by my daughters and my childhood friends, I was feeling extremely confident. Of course, having invested in a cool new running sports watch gave me the edge, wouldn't it? Haha. Now, the night before I had a huge dinner. Why am I telling this? Well, why on the earth would I do that? Anyway, forget it. That the down run is a different race altogether shows itself in the logistics. I had to get up at 2 a.m. to get down to Durban to take the bus to the start in Pietermaritzburg. Now, big shout out to the organizers, excellent. There are thousands of runners all lining up and in the buses and off you go. Great stuff. And the bus ride is definitely part of the experience, and I wholeheartedly recommend it to any Comrades runner. My bus was extremely quiet, eerie quiet, and the runner next to me, where do you think he came from? Brazil. And he was working on his first Comrades, and the runner on the other side was a runner from Soweto who was running his 10th Comrades. Wow, what pressure he must have been under. Now, Pietermaritzburg is definitely colder than Durban, but the adrenaline made up for it. You see, I had a better qualifying time. And seeing that it was my my second Comrades, the race organizers had more faith in my abilities. So I started much further ahead. And as in every Comrades race, the start is immediately preceded by a singing of the South African national anthem and Shozoloza. Everyone belts out both songs full-throated, and it's impossible not to get that sensation, that goosebump moment. And just have a look at some of the YouTube videos out there, and you might pick up a goosebump or two. And who knows what that goosebump or two might lead to. Okay, anyway, back to the start. So from the start in Pietermaritzburg, it's a bit cool, not cold, but incredibly dark. It's winter in Durban, and the sun only rises at around 6:50 a.m. So the first hour of the race is in complete darkness. The streetlights of Pietermaritzburg, they make the first couple of kilometers tolerable, but very quickly you run onto some dark suburban streets, and it's literally pitch black. And as you run along the N3, the main highway, you hear the cars honking from far away, so it's the first signs of encouragement and cheering, as the crowds were definitely less than at the Durban start. And then you climb up, up, up. Hang on, wasn't this supposed to be a downhill run? What's happening here? Well, the first couple of kilometers are a rather consistent climb, and so I kept thinking we're already at the top of Polly's before we actually got there. Because of the darkness maybe, I don't know, confusing. And this point in the course has a long stretch of uninterrupted and fairly steep downhills. So some eager runners enjoying the really speed down this section, but remember, it's still very early in the race at this point. Now, only then I realized how long that hill Polly short actually is. I had run it in the other direction, in the uprun, last year. And I ended up succumbing and walking most of it. Hang my head in shame. Coming from the other direction this year, it was pretty clear why. It really is a monster of a downhill as well. After Little Polly's, one comes down the backside and into Tumble Inn, at which point there is a steady but prolonged climb into Camperdown. The hill crests at about 20 kilometers at Umlaas Road, and then there's a pretty steady decline followed by a fairly flat stretch through Camperdown, where runners get their first taste of the awesome Comrades crowds. And it's already daylight by then, and finally you feel awake in a sense of, yes, this is why I signed up. This is what overcame me. Now at approximately kilometer 30, you're at Cato Ridge, after which point runners pass through Harrison Flats. Please note, you still have approximately 60 kilometers to go, so take it easy. I wasn't taking it easy. The course at this point becomes more or less downhill, plus the sun is already up, giving you some extra inspiration. And I recall that the year before in the uprun, I was suffering during this part of the course, because Harrison Flats is really anything but. I mean, coming out of Cato Ridge and before in Chunga, runners pass a Tambi school for the disabled, a very humbling experience, incredibly emotional part of the race course. And when you're out there having run 20 miles already or 60 plus in the up direction, it can be easy to think that the going is tough, but seeing these inspiring kids who brave the day to give high fives to runners, it really lifted my spirits and it put my internal pity party to an end. Party's over. After Harrison Flats, there's a pretty steady downhill for about 3 miles, at which point runners encounter the backside of Inchanga. Climbing in Chunga is not nearly as serious on the downrun as it is on the uprun, but it kind of epitomizes everything about the downrun. Let me explain this. You're still climbing almost 100 meters over 2.5 kilometers. Look, in my book, at this stage of a race, this is a serious climb and one to be taken extremely serious at this point in the race, with more than half of the race still to go. Then you can hear the crowds at Drummond, which is the traditional halfway point of the race, and the third cutoff point. Now again, pay attention, because for me this climb is a monster. Steadily rising more than 90 meters in about 4 kilometers. You hardly have time to catch your breath, and guess what? You climb another hill. This time it's Botha's Hill, and now it just got worse for me. Passing the Wall of Honor, Arthur's Seat, I began to calculate, looking at my super smart running watch, and it was useless, as obviously I hadn't charged it properly and I just stared into a blank screen. And hearing the occasional runner passing me with his watch blurting out a signal "dee-dee-dee-dee" or a pace didn't help me, it didn't cheer me up. Anyway, right, back to passing Arthur's Seat. I already felt exhausted, tired from 1 second to the next. Oh my goodness, this is too early, what's happening? Keep going, Heiko, keep going, Heiko. So now Botha's Hill, seldom have I seen so many runners walk a dreadful slow pace. Head low, arms hanging by their sides like straws, step by step, splotting up like it feels it's Mount Everest. Maybe it's due to the climb before and the one before that. That just took something out of me. What was meant to be a negative split, start off, became a struggle. Yeah. What do you think came up next? Hillcrest. The name makes Durban sound so close, but it's still 35 kilometers to go. But wait, no one told me that it's a 4% grade on this no-name hill. Come on, this was supposed to be a downrun. And they haven't even named all the hills. What the heck is this? I was getting upset. At this point I realized what it was. Plain well, exhaustion. No excuse. I realized if I didn't do something I might not make it at all. Slowly crawling up Cowie's Hill, I changed my inner dialogue. I used my mental techniques to change my process and making every step count. Easy does it. Then I turned left and I saw a sign, Pinetown. Pinetown, yes, this inspired me to run. Okay, well, shuffle again. And thank you for all the crowns at Pinetown. You really cheered me on and triggered something inside of me to keep going, back straight. And run, albeit a slow run, doesn't matter. I'm still in the race, I'm still there, and I'm going to finish it. If they could know what I'm thinking, the crowds. So Pinetown saved me, but I had another battle ahead of me, Cowie's Hill. And this is where the pro athlete can win or lose a race. Why? Well, at this point you have 2 marathons behind you, so I suppose some feelings of fatigue are permitted. How I struggled up that hill. I can tell you in one word, slow. And then suddenly Westville. Yes, you have made all those hills. You have over 80 kilometers behind you. You know you will make it, definitely. I will finish it. time, irrelevant, I don't know. Running through the lush suburbs of Westville, I spot the Indian Ocean in the background. Goosebumps all around. I now know for certain I've made it. Or have I? Strange enough, I have to walk again. Not just any walk, a slow, ancient, cave-like shuffle. Why do you ask? Well, there are no more hills. Well, yes, there are no hills, but the course takes you along the flyover, where you leave the N3 and head into downtown Durban. Now, usually you drive a flyover. You never know how steep it is, and strange how well I remember the stretch. A huge highway just for me. Some odd runners here and there, but mostly it's the first time during the race where I had lots of space, lots of it. As though I'm in trance, I carry on. I look down from the flyover and I see the people downstairs, and I understand I'm in downtown Durban, a long stretch of straight road ahead of me. Come on, Aiko. As I tackle the last kilometers, surprisingly, my mood improves, my pace picks up. Well, at least it felt like it did. Remember the one. Anyway. And I see the Moses Mahida Stadium. Oh my goodness. I hear people cheering me on, and I approach this huge stadium. It's then when I realize the long shadow it's casting. Meaning, I've had a long day running behind me. Entering the stadium is an ecstatic feeling through a dark tunnel. And yes, you see light at the end of this tunnel. And then it's the finish line. And just before crossing the line, I spot my daughters to the left. And their faces lighting up. They're happy to see me. And we wave, and I point to them. I go like, oh, my watch isn't working. And I get all emotional. I cross the finish line and I get the first medal. Thank you very much. And congratulations. And I walk on, and somebody guides me, and I wonder what happens now. And he guides me over, and somebody gives me the back-to-back medal and shakes my hand and congratulates me. And I got a fantastic can of Coke. That Coke tasted the best Coke I ever had. I have to mention that. And then, of course, the thrill of being with my daughters and celebrating the success. No, the time wasn't what I wanted it to be. The race wasn't what I wanted it to be. But I'd reached my goal. I'd reached my target that I set out to complete 2 Comrades in a row and to get the back-to-back medal. And for me, it's a great achievement. I wanted to share some more runners' experiences, and I went through my old running magazines from the Comrades and, of course, searched on the internet. And I found 8 lessons from other runners that I'd like to share with you. And I need to read off my script here. Como, at a time of sub 10, I learned that the Comrades Marathon is a long and grueling race. And it is a race against yourself, your body and your mind. Wow. There are times when you are going to have to dig very deep. Early in the race, at about kilometer 32, I was hit by fatigue, so was I, and had to find my inner strength to keep going. I had to give myself a little pep talk, remind myself why I wanted to be there and what my goals were. If you're not mentally strong, you will never make it to the finish line. Jeez, awesome. That being said, a training and racing partner is also a huge race help for a race like Comrades. The encouragement can be invaluable. Wow, very nice. We got Resa, sub 10. Comrades was such a roller coaster of emotions for me. Growing up in Westville, remember I mentioned that earlier? We watched Comrades every year in front of our house. How great is that? I watched every year on TV too. So for me to be actually participating in this ultimate human race was such an amazing experience. Something no words can really highlight or can explain. The highlight for me was definitely the support team that had my back the entire way. How nice. I couldn't have asked for anything better. You're basically alone in your head the entire race, and to just see your family and friends out there supporting you and encouraging you is amazing. I'm so blessed to have such amazing family and friends. Also crossing that finishing line with the sub 10 hour bus for my first Comrades, the crowds cheering, everything was just out of this world. Fantastic, really great. We got Seoul, hour of 10:45. The key lessons for me on this Comrades uprun was running on feel. I adjusted my initial race plan based on how my body reacted to the torturous hills of the first half of the race. There's a strategy. The stinging climbs of Inchanga crucified my legs, leaving me feeling like I was carrying extra kilograms on my feet. it was right there that I made peace with tackling the rest of the distance based on how I felt. I know that feeling. When I left fresh, I ran for as long as I could, only walking the hills. Yep, definitely a strategy. When I felt heavy, I walked as much as I could to regain some strength to run again. It made me realize how liberating it is to go into a race with more than one plan, because this is good. Ultimately, Comrades will blow your plan A. Mine was to finish comfortably, ideally a sub 10:30. Plan B was to beat my 11:36 down run, and plan C, this is good, was to finish just before the cutoff time. Very honest here. Charmaine, 9:44. Confidence in your training, mostly importantly your pace. No, really, this was for me, Charmaine. I didn't encounter any issues, and 2 days later I could still walk. When I started, I felt a slight twinge in my calf, but I managed to push through that and finish the entire race without any issues whatsoever. A lot of that came down to preparation, I believe. It made me realize just how important it is for people to prepare the mind before or during training blocks and goal race. Okay. People tend to run because someone else is running. They should be checking if what they are doing, if they are prepared enough for what they plan to run. Very good advice. Caroline, 11:30. I've never done such a challenging race in my life, but proved to myself that I can do anything I put my mind to. That mental application is crucial. One has to be mentally prepared, obviously physically too. But because of how challenging it is, if you are weak mentally, it will affect your confidence, and that will negatively impact your performance. What great references. Aside from the physical aspect, I also took a lot of confidence from going into the race well fueled and rested. Ha. Adam, 6:41. Wow, elite runner, congrats. This was my best Comrades performance to date. The up run is really challenging and very different to the down. Yep. But I proved to myself that the right preparation and a good backup crew, I had 6 seconders, wow, along the course. I can keep pace with the best. So I had paces with him. Great stuff. I've never gone that pace in the first 30 and was in the mix of all the top athletes the entire time. What a great feeling. What a great memory. I left it all out there, and when I finished, every inch of my body was sore. It was the happiest sub 7 I have ever done. And Yolanda, 11:30. Due to circumstances breaking 2 ribs before qualifying, ouch, I was very excited about the Comrades. Excited is a good word. I started in a seed batching, and even though I was undertrained, I decided to take on the event. We waited for the start, anticipating rain that never came. The weather was absolutely perfect. The nervous excitement was felt all around. Tears started flowing freely as the crowd listened to the chariots of fire. 2 crows of the cockerel and we were off. The race went well up to about kilometer 39 when I suddenly had a drop in blood sugar levels. I hit the wall and went through a terrible patch for about 4 kilometers. My support team found me at Drummond and fed me 10 delicious dates, and I got a second wind. At that point, we also heard the news that the winner just crossed the finish line. How devastating is that? Same with me. I also heard that Gerda finishes her race as we were shuffling down in Changa. We were conservative about our energy use going up the hills and made use of a run-walk strategy. Running down hills and the flatter parts to make up little time to walk the whole of Little Polly's and the Fiat Polly shorts. Good move. The hot weather dissipated and the cool breeze was welcomed. One of my best friends was going for his 10th finish and he was even more unfit than me. Trying to keep him motivated helped me. Yes, it distracted from your own issues. We crossed the finish line in 11:30. Race number 42 in the bag for me. Wow! Permanent number for the friend, and the daughter finished her 6th. A proud and tough day at the office. What amazing stories, and yes, recommendations. I have a recommendation, and it's to train your brain. to invest in a solid, trustworthy mental sports coaching program where you learn the art of self-hypnosis and other powerful mental tools because you will benefit from them. Especially during a bad patch, it saves you time by knowing exactly what your thought pattern currently is, recognizing it, and how you can interrupt it and upload a positive, powerful new one. It might just make the difference between quitting and carrying on. Look, each day we have a choice. Well, you have a choice. You can go for a run, just a normal run, and be more or less satisfied you made a more or less average time, similar to the days, weeks, or months before. Or you could move forward with a purpose, a different mindset and attitude, going for a challenge which results in a different posture, because this posture will lead to a stronger mindset than you already have. Hypno Running specializes in mental tools for runners, using the best and most useful tools of neuro-linguistic programming and the best processes of cognitive behavior therapy. Hypno Running by Reset also provides scientifically proven methods like EMDR, adapted for endurance racing, plus teaching the art of self-hypnosis for a stronger mindset. My name is Heiko. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.